The story you're about to hear is a compilation of documented true facts about historical characters, events, or locations. Please sit back and listen as I narrate this story to you. The shaky handwriting in the hiking map's margins belonged to a desperate man, lost in the wilderness 2,600 miles from his Virginia home, out of energy and hope. He scribbled that he was down to his last 3 crackers. He was aware that no one was looking for him, and he expected to die here, alone in this treacherous gorge in California's San Jacinto Mountains. His most recent entry was on May 8, 2005. He stuffed his maps into his new orange and yellow backpack, along with his navy blue fleece and the Ziploc bag that held his Virginia driver's license, which identified him as John Donovan, 60 years old, of Petersburg. Then, he was gone. Almost a year later, the 2 hikers who were also lost, hungry, and desperate stumbled into the same rugged gorge and found their way out thanks to John Donovan's apparent demise. Brandon Day, 28 years old, and his girlfriend, Gina Allen, 24 years old, had gone missing on a nature hike and had been stumbling for nearly 3 days with no food, little sleep, and low spirits. The Dallas couple, who survived 3 nights in rough terrain, discovered a backpack containing clothing and matches at John Donovan's deserted campsite almost a year to the day before he vanished into the San Jacinto Mountains. The couple was in Southern California for a business conference. Day and Allen had ridden the Palm Springs aerial tramway to Mount San Jacinto State Park with a group of about 40 other people. The tram, a popular attraction in the Palm Springs area, travels about 2.5 miles from the desert to its mountain terminus at an elevation of more than 8,500 feet. The tour included a 2-hour stop at the tram's mountain station in addition to the tram ride. Some participants dined in the station's restaurant, overlooking the desert more than a mile below, while others walked on trails leading from the station into the park, the majority of which is designated wilderness. The couple deviated from the path to follow the sound of a waterfall. They found the waterfall but returned to the trail by taking the wrong turn. So, their ordeal began. They were only dressed for a short hike, wore light windbreakers and tennis shoes, had no food, and relied on cell phones for spare clothing. As night fell, they sought refuge in a small cave between boulders and spent the night sleepless, freezing, and hungry. They struggled to follow a stream downhill through boulder-strewn terrain in the morning. They were frequently awakened by their own shivering that night. They started following a stream, as Donovan had probably done the year before, and as they rounded a bend, they noticed a campsite in the distance. They were overjoyed. Perhaps there was salvation here. "Hello!" they exclaimed. "Is anybody here?" A foam sleeping mat, a poncho thrown into some branches for shade, a backpack, a disposable razor, a spoon, and tennis shoes were all present. For protection, a green tarp was draped over branches. However, their calls were met with silence, and as they examined the backpack, they noticed that it was wet, weathered, and had been there for some time. When they looked inside, they discovered Donovan's journal and realized, much to their chagrin, that his fate might well be theirs. They also discovered a warm sweater for Allen, dry socks for Day, and matches in a waterproof bag. They lit a small signal fire and saw a helicopter in the distance, but the crew did not notice them. On Tuesday morning, a desperate Day set fire to a large patch of brush, attracting the attention of a helicopter rescue crew. The couple was discovered approximately 3 to 4 miles from the tram station. They were examined in a hospital and discovered to have only blisters and bruises. A missing persons report on Day and Allen was not filed until late Monday morning when Allen's sister, who works in the same office as Allen, became concerned when her sister did not show up for work and notified authorities. The tour group waited about 20 minutes for Day and Allen before returning to the hotel, assuming the couple had left early and taken a taxi back, according to a tour attendee. Day believes that no one at the conference of about 950 people noticed that he and Allen were missing because the conference ended on Saturday with a buffet and party planned for the evening, and most people left the next day. On Thursday, They recounted the ordeal, while friends of Donovan, who has yet to be found, remembered a joyful hiking companion whose trail name was El Burro for the way he plowed through icy creeks and windstorms and sauntered off course for 2 days and still finished his journey. Donovan, who friends said was single and a Navy veteran, turned 60 last spring and retired as a counselor at Petersburg Central State Hospital. He was a longtime member of the Richmond-based Old Dominion Appalachian Trail Club and a dedicated and experienced hiker who had logged thousands of miles on the Appalachian Trail. He had 2 trail names, Seabreeze, the origin of which was unknown, according to one friend, and El Burro. Last spring, he decided to hike the majority of the Pacific Crest Trail, a 2,650-mile route that runs from northern Mexico to Canada. He intended to begin in Mexico and hike all the way to Oregon. Donovan started hiking the trail in northern Mexico on April 22, 2005, and was last seen on May 3, 2005, near a remote spot in the forest called Saddle Junction, where the northbound Pacific Crest is crossed by the Devil's Slide Trail. He'd covered 178 miles. The area is located approximately 50 miles southeast of Los Angeles and approximately 30 miles south of Palm Springs. According to Patrick McCurdy of the Riverside Mountain Rescue Unit, which searched for Donovan, hiking the Pacific Trail through can be difficult. If you leave too early, you may encounter spring snow, he warned. If you leave too late, you may encounter bad autumn weather. In 2005, the San Jacinto Mountains saw record-breaking snowfall and an early May snowstorm hit just as Donovan was passing through, according to McCurdy. When word arrived in Virginia in mid-May that Donovan hadn't been heard from in a while, Kenny called several rural post offices along the trail where Donovan had mailed packages. When she realized that he hadn't picked them up, she notified authorities. Searches were conducted according to McCurdy, but no trace of Donovan was discovered. Nobody will ever know how Donovan spent his final days on Earth. They discovered Donovan's journal while rummaging through his backpack. Alan noticed that the date of the final entry was the same as the date of the previous entry, but written a year earlier. And that last journal entry was him talking about how nobody knew where to look for him. Basically his last words that he was preparing for his demise, Day said. Donovan wrote that he, like Day and Alan, had become trapped in the gorge. He was running out of food, preparing for the end, and had some regrets. They didn't want to be too specific because he owed a debt of gratitude to the man who had saved their lives. He claimed that the writing covered the margins of several maps, and there were about a dozen submissions. I didn't want to read anything, he said. I'd read enough to know what had happened. I didn't want it to happen to us. Deputies searching the area in June 2006, a month after Day and Alan were discovered Donovan's remains, whose abandoned supplies helped save the couple. On July 11, he was laid to rest in an Amelia County Veterans Cemetery. Hey everyone! I just wanted to express how grateful I am that you took time out of your day to listen to my narration. This is Nikki of Twysted Mind, and I'd like to wish you a wonderful rest of your day. Salamat!